Hi, Pastor Robert here. Charles Alexander. His story begins in 1938, right in the heart of the American South, Rome, Georgia. He grew up in the 1940s, a time of change, challenge, and faith, when gospel music was finding its voice in churches and on street corners. By the 1950s, Charles was stepping into adulthood, carrying with him a deep love for music and a calling that couldn't be ignored. And by the 1970s, that calling became his life's work. Charles was no longer just singing in small churches. He was traveling, performing, and dedicating himself full-time to sharing the gospel through song. His journey isn't just about music. It's about perseverance, passion, and the power of faith carried through every note.
All right, Mr. Alexander.
Okay, are we already here? Are we hearing ourselves
Yeah,
now?
we're going now. So, so you're a minister. This segment's called Meet a Minister, and you have a unique ministry. You've been a gospel singer. So how did that start?
Well, actually, it started at Little Creek Baptist Church. The way I was raised, very low education. Just they call themselves streaky head Baptist.
Okay.
But the gospel they loved to sing out of the old books.
Yeah.
And so they would each one lead singing. It was a big part of their service, and then they had the preachers that would be, no matter how many preachers were there, they would have the pulpit for the point that they felt led. And so I'm just like just hanging around. You'd think that I was not interested, but I think I was developing a love for the gospel music just for what they were doing. My mother would go there just because she loved to sing, sing from the bench, just sitting and singing. And so.
And what is a streaky head Baptist?
Well, I think they were a denomination that came from. I think it may be called, as a matter of fact, like Goodwill Baptist or something.
Okay.
But they came from Alabama, and in Alabama we were raised about 10 miles. Went to church about 10 miles from the Little Creek Baptist, from the Alabama line, from Anniston or whatever. And so that somehow they affiliated with the Alabama group because they're somewhat uneducated, and so they were probably uncomfortable with the church. Probably our family helped build, but it kind of got ahead of them a little bit, so they formed their own type and associated themselves with what they call streaky head Baptist. And so, but they just loved to sing, and they took an offering up every year, and they would buy the evangelist buy him a suit of clothes. That would be his payment every year, once a year.
Okay.
And then they would have a baptism once a year, and so they had their own little rules or whatever. But I didn't realize, growing up as a teenager and doing all the things a teenager does, trying to smoke sometimes, or trying to have a motor scooter at one time, but I had to work. It was just a working thing. So anyway, I probably loved that more than I thought I did, because I didn't intend to join that church, because I didn't consider them spiritual, whatever I think. I didn't intend to join their church. And then by the time I was 17, working in a grocery store, everything's going really bad for me. And so one Sunday afternoon, I was working the produce counter, and the produce counter was at the picture window, and watching the traffic go by or whatever. A car went by, a little two-seater car went flying by, went down to the intersection and wrecked, and a wheel came flying back up the road by itself, and I'm watching all that, and I said, God, I'll serve you if you'll get me out of this place. So that little longing that you don't realize that God's speaking to your heart, and 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 what your real belief was, and then my brother and sister-in-law in the process, they were Church of God, and I went to a different grocery store. I left that one. I really got discouraged, which I feel like it was a leading of the Lord. Just made me discouraged and quit trying to stay there because I was working 70 hours a week or whatever for almost nothing. Went to another grocery store, and then that was where my brother and sister-in-law would pass by going to church. They go to we would go to church almost every night somewhere. I wasn't then. I was lying then. I was lying and dirty.
Okay.
So, but anyway, they come by and start, and try to get me into church. That's what they would do. That was their ministry, was to pick people up and work with them until they either accepted the Lord or rejected, and work with them. And they get you food and get you clothing. And
this was your family?
Yeah, my family. Yeah.
And you're from Rome, Georgia?
From Rome, Georgia.
So you were born in Rome, Georgia. So you would have remembered Rome, Georgia in the 1940s?
I was born in 1937. I certainly, I got to think about the religious part because it's called mixed in with family. Yeah. I was,
So what was the town like in the 1940s? You were probably what, 8 years old, 10 years old?
Yeah, well, in 40 I would have been 3 years old.
Okay.
Okay, so in 44, like the war is really getting over.
Right.
Then I'm getting to be 8 or 9 years old.
Right.
And so, but what it was back then, and for our part, my grandmother had been well off. That she had passed and left.
What was her name?
Okay. She her last name was Raper.
Okay.
It's actually an English name, and I was, to be honest with you, to say that my father died when I was a week old, which was her son, and so she had left properties that they were kind of fighting over or whatever. So so we had her equipment from her farming, her Papa's equipment from his farming, but I was a week old when he died, so I lived with my mother. My mother had a nervous breakdown when I was born because she lost her property at her home basically at the same time, had too many children and those kind of things.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even budget. I started to say the grandmother had buggies,
okay,
but we only had wagons.
Okay.
And it was farming, down in the dirt, in the mud or whatever it was.
You remember that when you were young?
Oh yeah, we moved.
So you were farmers.
Farmers, yeah,
Okay.
My brother Jack farms.
So you were farmers. You would go down to the local church.
Yeah.
And that's where you learned how to sing.
Yeah.
Okay, now you're
sing along, but I know a bunch of that stuff now, even now.
Yeah, and then so you mentioned your dad died when you were a week old.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Charlie Lafayette.
Okay.
Lafayette, or Charles Lafayette.
Okay.
And Alexander.
What was he known for?
He was a bully. And he was just he was like he's kind of a bootlegger and kind of a religious person and kind of a sawmiller and so but he had died with tuberculosis. He was sick for like 3 years. He was really a rough, tough guy, but he died frail.
Okay.
Whatever, he withered away.
Yeah.
But so like I say, when I was born, he died a week later, and
was he only married once?
He was married twice.
Married twice.
He had 6 children by the first wife. She was probably at least a quarter Cherokee Indian, and she had all the traits of a Cherokee. Whatever.
Did you ever meet her?
Oh no! I mean, my mother was like 18 after she passed. She died with measles. She and the baby both passed away. That was their 6th child. They died together within an hour of each other.
Okay.
And so, like I say, he married again, and then my Mama's group. Mama was the mother of 10.
What's her name?
And my mother was Nola Davis.
Okay.
When she. Like I say, before she married.
Okay, and then so about the time about 1950s. You're
Okay.
what, a teenager then?
53, stuff like that, yeah.
You're becoming an adult then. What's going on with life then?
Okay, so at 17, like I say, life was really kind of rough for me, and I was probably discriminated against because, like I say, I had an uneducated family and didn't protect me. I was all on my own, as if I was an adult when I was small. So I had to work and earn, and by the time I was 12 or whatever. Oops. Okay, so anyway, so when I was 17, and all the childhood stuff that had come to a head, kind of, and that's when I guess my either the Spirit of the Lord or my body cried out, "God, help me, get me out of this place," so. That started, and when I was 17, I started basically crying out, and then by the time I was 18, my brother and his wife had won me to the Lord.
Okay.
And so I started going with them to a mission church, and anywhere they went. By then, it became.
Did you get baptized?
Oh yeah, like a little creek baptism.
Yeah.
Just like
out in the creek.
Yeah, it was just like. It might have been like Cave Springs, Georgia, or something where there's running water.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where they baptized in or whatever. But later on, it got people doing the baptistries. But right then, we're still in the creek doing the country thing.
Yeah. So being a gospel singer, you obviously love music.
Yeah.
So in the 1950s, were you influenced by certain artists or certain gospel singers?
I mean, my brother listened to that country music, and everybody, Ernest Tubb, it didn't matter, all that type music was. It would be. He had a hearing problem, so you could hear our radio out across the whole neighborhood. And people across, almost like a mile away could hear our radio.
Okay.
But he loved.
And who was this?
My brother Jack.
Your brother Jack, and he was almost deaf.
Yeah,
and he just blasted the radio.
Right, and like I say, he'd turn the radio away, and he'd be out in the field, and he'd have the radio playing, and so Hank Williams, and I remember when Hank Williams passed away, in the night, going to be at Grand Ole Opry, and they'd called in and said he had passed away, but all that was very interesting.
Yeah.
But I had developed an interest, kind of a subconscious interest in all of that, like a lot of country singers do.
Yeah.
That got nothing but
Were you singing in the church at this point?
I didn't sing much along, but I knew the songs. I knew He Bore It All. I knew all those songs out of the favorite songs and hymns. I knew, not all that we did of those.
Yeah.
So those was in my mind. And then when I was saved and started, got a good job. My brother also helped me get a good job. All that stuff started coming out. I bought a guitar. I started to. I didn't finish high school, so I started taking high school courses at home, and so the musical thing, and then the Church of God thing. It was I call it like the Church of God music, but it might have just been the way the North Rome Church of God's, but very high beat, rhythmatic, and so it just all blended into my mind, and I would as I went along developing a study of I'm trying to think of like a layman's study, Sunday school study, and listening to the preacher study, learning the meanings of words and whatever. So I might be making this too long for whatever you're doing, but anyway, it started coming out. Guy, David Montgomery was a young ministry. He didn't go by the rules in a way.
Who was he?
He was a minister. He had been Church of God, but back then, you could be ousted or what do you call it, blackballed in a way. It's not for that program, but that's a good way to call it. And so he was like in and out doing stuff, laughed a lot, and he came and taught me about three major chords on the guitar. He'd come to the house on Saturday or whatever, and so it just started to blend. What I was down deep started to
So
come
he's
out.
like a local evangelist?
Yeah.
And he's showing you
Yeah,
how to play the guitar, how to sing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also showed me like the joy of ministry, you know. So he didn't make it that far himself, but he was always busy doing stuff. And he was going to go learn Spanish, you call it, Hispanic, and go to Mexico and preach to them someday,
Okay.
you know.
Wow.
But he was good on guitar, and I never was good. I was always like left-handed strummer, you know, not that good, but I pretty good at vocals. I had a powerful voice. It's like an Alexander thing, you know.
Yeah.
And I had to control, because I could get louder than anybody, just by nature. And I think you may be like that also. But anyway, I just started to grow and develop in me, and I became a searcher.
Yeah.
I started to just stop just looking at one denomination and grasping. One thing when you're raised with no parents per se, like I talking about Jack Alec,
Yeah.
he was my oldest half brother.
Okay.
My oldest half brother. He was old enough to be my father. As a matter of fact, he'd been 26 or something when I was born.
Yeah.
So I was with him, but basically I was kind of like a little servant.
Okay.
You know, I had to kind of make my way.
Yeah.
But I stayed with him half of my childhood.
Was
and
he
his
pretty
wife.
good to you?
Oh yeah, in his country way, yeah. That's the loud music guy, and
Yeah.
and he had his country way of being, you know, being really considerate. In a way, he wanted to call me his son, but because I lived with him so much, but it felt a little uncomfortable because he wasn't my father, you know. But anyway, he was good. He did, you know, he helped me where he could. He just didn't have the education. I would read the newspaper. We would get a newspaper,
Okay.
and I would read the headlines to him in Francis before he went to work.
Okay.
He'd go to work early.
Wow.
Yeah, so
News reporter.
yeah, that's right. So that's right. I was a reporter. Yeah, I remember where a little girl in Texas had fallen into a well, and we followed that like a soap opera in a way. Like they're doing this way, whatever, and it was really sad. And I believe her name was Kathy. And I wanted to name our daughter after her, so that's how serious that was to me. But anyway, trying to get to the ministry thing, is listening to people and like the racism, and so you don't have anybody telling you what to believe. And so I could make up my own mind. When everybody said the black folks have libraries like everybody else, well, they didn't have. They just, they're on the radio begging for books. Come to our school, wanting to take our spellers and our math, what was left over, that what, you know, like old things to teach their children. The bus was awful. But so when somebody's telling this certain maybe truth to them, but it's just most of it's a lie, you know, and it's made up stuff. So anyway, I learned to take the good out of everybody I saw, and just reject, not make a decision, condemnation, just not believe like that because it's not true.
Yeah.
You know, so or something was true, and so have to stand for it and all this. So and you know, before people who were not educated.
Yeah. During the 1940s and 50s, did you interact with a lot of black folk? Did the whites and the blacks mix much then?
No, not really. Now here's the thing about it. The land that we lived on, where I raised our family on, was owned by, we said Uncle Miles Montgomery, but Miles Montgomery, his mother, I think, had been a slave or mistress to the Mr. Montgomery, whatever that was. But he inherited about like 400 acres or whatever. Okay, so our families had robbed each other out. nobody hardly had their property left. Somebody else, 2 people ended up with about all of it. So we lived on we call it House at Smith Road, and Mr. Montgomery, he had inherited all that, and he owned the whole side over there. Must have been 400 acres. I don't know. So many of us, he would let my family buy like an acre of land or 5 acres or whatever they wanted like that. I mean, the prime part, right on the road, and he was just wonderful. That was our relationship. We raised our cattle went to his property to graze. We're at the foot of Alto Mountain, and so so spring water come in several different directions, and so we could do anything. We could wash at the thing. We could make a swimming pool out of it on his property. Never saw him. Never a word said. The only kind of some I saw, if it was hog killing or something like that, something about food like that. But they would work probably for the scraps or whatever that would be. And so that was really the only contact that I had, except that I understood the situation, and the little girl, a little black lady standing on the side of the road when we're going in our bus, waiting on that 9:30 or 10 o'clock bus to go to one school in Rome, called, I think they called East Main or something like that, and there wasn't no grass on the whatever just awful. It's an awful place to be, kind of. But they would go and get their education, and I felt sad when we passed. That I know some time when I spent some time with Mama was like a few months or whatever, when my sisters were dating, because she stayed with them all the time, and so I with her. So we were on a bus one time, and the bus was full of people, loaded, and everybody, all the black folks would have to sit on the back seat, and then if coming up, if there's seats empty, they could sit as long as there wasn't any white folks. Okay, so there was a black woman standing by me and Mama, because Mama hadn't taught me racism. But so the lady was standing by us, and so I started to stand up to give her my seat, which is what a gentleman would do. I was probably, like I said, I was probably 10, 11 years old, whatever. Mama said, "Stay." And so I didn't know what that meant, but I couldn't get up and give her my seat. But it was a contrast,
Confused.
Yeah, confusing. Yeah, because I was, I didn't know any difference. Because, like I said, Uncle Miles Montgomery, we used his horses, we used his plows, because ours had all been confiscated by different.
So like interesting. So the black farmer that you were neighbors with would help you guys out.
Anything we needed.
Yeah.
And you could go make a garden on his property. You would never see them. And I remember we had a shared syrup mill, a cane syrup crusher. I'd never seen that before, but Jack had gotten sick and was out of work, and so he knew where that Uncle Miles Montgomery still had that copper plate. It had to have copper for that stuff to react and whatever to the syrup. So we just went over there, and he said, "You still got that?" "Yeah, it's out there in the field." So we went and got that and sold that. Jack sold that for scrap. But yeah, and like I say, we used his horses, his mules, whatever it took. His was better kept than ours was too,
Wow.
But I didn't see the embedded racism until they started the counter, black folks sitting at the counter, sitting at the counter to eat, at the 10-cent store.
Yeah.
And so then whenever all this in the newspaper or whatever else, and then my family started doing the N-word, and I never heard that before. And my brother, Jack, he was, like I say, he's uneducated. He was a good guy in a way, but he was picked up on what they were saying and saying them ends and whatever. I said, Jack, our cattle graze on the black man's property, you know, we have to have, but like I say, the next day it seemed like he didn't realize. I think he loved me more after the next day. You don't know how they're going to act. Which I wouldn't act. I wouldn't think about what he would care about, whatever. He just learned that lesson. He hadn't even thought about that.
Told him the truth.
Right. They were the smartest. That's right. They were the smartest. They're smarter than we were. They were their children went on and got education and stuff like that. My two sisters and myself, one finished sixth grade, one finished the eighth grade, and then I was in the 11th grade when I was 16 years old and quit school myself. That was the closest education we had, and which paid off in the long run because I kept developing education. Yeah. And also my relationship, it's almost like a godly thing that it just kept happening that I had to face racism, you know, and so one of them was kind of funny. I was studying, experiencing short order cook at a hotel.
Okay.
And I remember they didn't have air conditioning, had these big fans, the air pulled through whatever. So anyway, I had a dishwasher, a little black guy. He's kind of my age, and he suckered me in. He suckered me about the black thing, and I don't even understand what he's talking about. So anyway, he was smoking, and he kind of got me to having to take a draw off of his cigarette, and it's like a whatever. But when I went through that, I had. Realized it wasn't an issue. Putting my mouth where his mouth was or whatever was it really wasn't the issue. So one lesson after the other.
Yeah, no, that's good. Okay, so, all right. So, do you get married in the 1950s or 1960s?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We married. Myrtle and I married in '56. That was a fast moving thing. Like I say, I was barely 19, and she was. Just,
are y'all in the church together?
Yeah. She came to the Church of God when that Church of God thing was going really well, revivals and different things going on. Her brother, her sister-in-law, my brother and sister-in-law.
How old were you then?
I was 19 when we married.
Okay.
And so I think we probably met when I was 18 or whatever.
Gotcha.
We dated 6 months or something until she got to be 16, which is kind of embarrassing in a way. But she made a great wife. But it was really.
And now you've been married how long?
69 years.
Wow.
This week, 69 years.
So y'all met in the church?
Yeah, she came. She was raised Salvation Army. I was raised in a little Creek Baptist church. She was raised Salvation Army, and so they also Rome used to get flooded all the time. They still got those big pumps and everything from when they used to get flooded, and so they lived in low-lying areas. Matter of fact, their housing at one time was under the bridge. They built a bridge over where they were over the river, and but she worked. She collected for the Salvation Army. I don't know if somebody will remember. The tambourines, and they'd go to barber shops and different things, collect money for whatever else.
Like the general stores.
Yeah, anybody they go in the store and they got the tambourine, and people know give them a quarter or whatever it would be.
She played tambourine?
Yeah. Okay. So she came to church playing and the horn. Okay. She was actually very good at it, but and pretty as she could be, and had that little thing on her arm, she was very pretty. And
did y'all both come from poverty?
Yeah. I call it. I was country poverty, and she was city poverty.
Okay.
So she could get a dime, she'd head for Broad Street. She lived within 3 blocks of Broad Street. So once she got a quarter, they'd head for the whatever. But anyway, like I say, Salvation Army furnished them furniture when they'd get flooded out and whatever. The Salvation Army really raised her. Yeah. But when she came to the church, she was looking to get out of her poverty situation. And like somebody said, I was looking for a wife because I had a pretty good job. And
what were you doing?
Celanese Corporation is a rayon mill, the fine material that you use for drapes and whatever.
Okay.
And last I heard, they were in Greenville, South Carolina. They'd moved to a bigger plant there, whatever my job had. But it was a wonderful job to be. It was like somebody said.
You could support a family, support a wife.
Yeah. $60 a week or something like that to that place. Yeah, that's a good job.
Yeah.
And but anyway, let me see if I okay. So yeah, she came to the church in a revival, and she latched on to me. I latched on to her. I would have married her the first date we had. I was trying to get to her, like I say, because I was dating every girls in the church, and so. Yeah, she came. She was very beautiful, and like I say, she didn't hardly have the clothes on her back. Really, so she and her sister was, trading whatever. It's a terrible condition. Really.
Did her family accept you?
Yeah, in that sense of the word, they thought we were getting ahead of the game, trying to marry, and she's 16 years old, and her father said, "You both need to be in school." And that was true.
Yeah.
But we were just trying to make a go of that situation.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm going to do like the ministry thing, like you're talking about that.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't make it detailed. I just say from that, once I started getting that part settled, the family thing, I said Myrtle was the first person that loved me first. Everybody else, I was secondary. They said, "I love you like my own," but it's not true. Even people who are orphaned or whatever, anything in a secondary relationship, they want to, and you have to give them credit for it. But they got their own children. They got their own Christmas. Sometimes I didn't get it much, whatever. But it's a matter of verbal. But anyway. Once I got that settled, Myrtle and I, got our little house together, a little whatever. And so then I started to reaching out, kind of not, some of the things that was being taught didn't go along with Scripture.
Okay.
Like that. So I started to, I guess maybe I would say, if you're going to say, the Spirit of God or the Holy Ghost or whatever started, when we talk about wanting the straight and narrow, He's kind of teaching you, whatever, and you're learning, you're learning to listen to the Spirit of the Lord. He said, "You love me," and from my inside, I could feel Him say, "You love me." I said, "Yes, Lord, I love you. Follow me."
Yeah.
And so that just started to dig at me, whatever. And I say, "Why, Lord, whatever." So I'd let that pass. Then I'd be contemplating something that I didn't agree with or whatever, I guess. And what am I going to do? What am I going to? And I'm a yarn man, so I'm talking to the Lord and putting up yarn, and I'm saying, what am I going to? You love me? Yes, Lord, I love you. Follow me. And so, oh Lord, so now this is leading me out of the Church of God, out of my denomination. I didn't want to leave my denomination, whatever, but I wanted the truth. So truth is what I live by.
Right.
That's all I had, because I didn't really have an exact family. So anyway, it started to spread out. So finally, I quit that job and started to fast. I fasted 20 days out of 30. Seeking the Lord, and the Lord is teaching me stuff. I'm learning stuff or whatever. I'm coming to accept truth, over rhetoric, because what people say didn't mean anything anyway, because I had always heard stuff but didn't pan out. So anyway, and so I started to develop, and then I didn't want Myrtle to go back to poverty, and the Lord was dealing with me about. He said 75% of what people throw away, you can live off of what people throw away. Like I said, ended up getting discouraged, and then that was like when Karen was born. I was working in the cafeteria, and
so you started having children.
Yeah.
So how many did you have total?
Well, we had 4 children, but we had the 3. The relevant one at this point in time was David was born. We were married in '56.
Yeah.
David was born in '57.
Okay.
And then Karen was born in '59.
'Okay.
And so when Karen was born, I think like overnight I grew up, and I said, nobody owes me anything.
Yeah.
If I have anything, I'm going to have to work for it, because I'm not going to find a billfold that's with money, with no identification,
Yeah.
and nobody's going to give me anything. And so from that point, I had backslidden pretty well for about kind of like 2 years. If I look at it like a year and something, I had backslidden, and then I started to. I left that job as a night shift job. Didn't earn enough to pay my bills, whatever. So I quit that job and went back to doing routes. So I used to run drink routes, laundry routes, and different things. Went back to that. That was low paying, but it was a way out to get going. And so that was the way that I. Let me see how that. But anyway, I used to hitchhike and minister to people, hitchhike from one town to the other and minister to people.
What would you do? What would you tell them?
Just ask them if they know the Lord. And they said, are you Christian? Are you whatever? Back then you wouldn't say, are you Muslim or whatever. You wouldn't, it was all about Christianity or not. We might be Baptist, you might be Methodist, be whatever, but it would be Christian, somewhat Christian. So I just stayed, and sometimes if it was supper time, they'd buy me supper and do whatever, I hitchhiked like 25 miles away, getting to be nighttime, and
this is while you're married and have kids.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because I got back. In other words, I kind of quit my job again,
Okay.
and started seeking the Lord. If I could see if I can make that a little bit shorter. But anyway, in the process, I was developing the courage of standing up no matter what anybody thought. I started developing that people tell you a lie, and people mean to tell you the truth, but they think it's the truth, and you miss God. So I started seeking the Lord. So anyway, I ended up in 1960. I left that grocery store there where I was, and went to bridge construction. Somebody told me about that. You could advance on bridge construction. They always needed help. So I hitchhiked up to that job, like about 25 miles away, where I didn't know how I was going to get back home. So started there, and then, and like I say, in 2 years I was drawing carpenter pay because I was kind of smart, and strong, and my body was slender, where I could really climb and do a good job. So I advanced on that job pretty quick. Came to Augusta in '64, and
What was the project?
I-75 from it's interstate runs like the even numbers is okay.
All right, so that bridge construction. So you were
Okay.
building on I-75?
Yeah, 75, and then I came to Augusta built on bridges on I-20, and so in this process, I was backslidden, hadn't, whatever. I'd ask God to leave me alone, let me get on my feet or something like that, because and like I say, trying to get everything straight in my mind and my life. So anyway, came to Augusta as a carpenter. Nobody ever questioned me again about my craft, because I was very good at it, and didn't know everything, but I knew enough to be a good carpenter, and and strong and energetic. So anyway, I went. Let me see. So I went there. I came here in '64. And in '66, your mother was born, and I went to work at the paper mill, and I was like 29 years old, and I started getting back into religious beliefs or whatever. Started stopped smoking and doing stuff. Thank God. And so started back into but then, like I say, then our daughter Karen was getting to be 9 years old, and she's learning already very good at the piano for a 9-year-old.
Okay.
By the time we was 11, she was playing for the church.
Which church?
Well, this was Assemblies of God.
Okay.
A little Assemblies of God, Lakeview, and then, like I say, it was probably 25 people or something. But anyway, she So that was just because I was already banging on my little guitar and whatever, try to lead the music, and then she just started to develop, so by the time '76 came along, we got to where we was doing some harmony and got some pretty good stuff or whatever, and started going to different churches.
You said in 1979?
No, let's see. Probably '76 is when we started going out away from our local church.
Right, and at this point, people are liking you guys.
Yeah.
You're sounding good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were like I say, we were still going in and doing our 2 songs or playing for the gospel groups, playing for the offering and those kind of stuff. Yeah, we were considered. We were not a drag.
What'd you call yourselves?
We were just the Alexanders. Back then. It was Tanya. By that time, it was Tanya, Karen, myself, and then we would hire a drummer, or our drummer would be his ministry or whatever, would play with us like that. And Tanya played bass or whatever got as we developed. And then we to go full time, which somebody said it was a mistake, but it was hard and developing, and God blessed us in the long run. And let me get my head straight on that. Okay, so when Tanya graduated from high school, she graduated when she was 17. See, they had trials too, being a gospel music, and we won some little second place music things and whatever as they were developing. Had couldn't do cheerleading, whatever, because we were on the road a lot of the time. And then, like I say, when Tanya graduated at North Augusta High, I had there with a bus. She left the graduation, got on the bus, and we went to north of Georgia or somewhere like that. That's the way that was growing and developing. It's a ministry experience. It's not like we did start trying to, you get tired of being hungry or whatever, and you didn't. First, you just took whatever offering you got or no offering, you thank God for it. Somebody would slip you some money or whatever. It's just like hand to mouth kind of stuff. And then we started getting to be good enough, and then ran an ad in the Singing News, and picked up some $500 dates and stuff like that. And we were like say we were really dealing well, coming along, and then the girls started getting grown, started dating solidly.
Now, with Life on the Road.
Okay,
and what was Life on the Road like, and was God there? I mean, would you just go out on faith, just hoping everything works out? What happened on the road? Okay,
so road, the way that Karen became a main part of. She became our stability. I mean, she was solid. She got us into Jamaica. We'd go to Canada. We'd go to Mexico, a little bit of Mexico, not much, but all up around California and those kind of places. So when it was true ministry, and she'd get on that phone and get those pastors the way she is, and they just invite us in or allow us to come, whatever. And a lot of times it was a poor offering, but something would work out always. But we were just happy to be doing that, and different wonderful things would happen. Somebody we got robbed in St. Louis, and somebody gave us a girl with tears in her eyes in California, gave us her guitar, and she said, I'm not traveling anymore. I feel led to do this. And we've had people in Texas or Las Vegas or whatever give us bags full of silver coins and different. Always lots of wonderful things happen. Made an album that for our traveling sold pretty good. That's mostly what we lived off, is like getting our money back on the album and using it to live on, whatever. But you travel, like if you're going to have a program in Ohio, somewhere in Ohio, Akron or whatever, you travel like Wednesday night. You'd load up. I had a bed in the van. And they just went to bed. They'd get in the van and they'd sleep. They wouldn't even be tired when they get to the job. They would drive like 11, 12 hours all night, and so it was a joy. It was a joy to be standing out and when you can't get into the church and be shaving in the van with the van mirror, cold water and whatever.
Dry razor.
Dry razor, yeah. Man, it hurt for a little bit, but whatever went through, it was, and you consider it ministry.
Yeah.
If like went to one place. Well, this was like a 3-weekend problem, but when we got to the main one back in Missouri or wherever it was, they had a wedding, and had paid no attention to us. Hadn't even thought about our coming. So we some of us slept on the floor, some slept in the van, and we lived off the scraps of left from the even drink where they hadn't drank the whole punch. And that we were starving, and that was our food, was what was left over from the wedding, and they didn't even hardly act. And so next day, when Sunday morning I was so tired I didn't even know where I was in a song. It was just automatic, just doing a program, whatever. They probably a lot of times they give you like $60. At that point in time, main offering was like $60. So
yeah.
So
did you have some favorite people that you met on the road?
Oh man, lots of good people. I still think about them.
What's their names?
I would have to think. I'm sorry. I'd have to think about what church it is, and the things that like somebody like one church. I'm trying to think of the person that went on to be the president of the Life Bible College. But when we went, we thought we was going there and it'd be like a big church full of people. Well, when he left, everybody left too, and he went to California, and so we stayed. We really slept on the dining room floor. I did. I think the girls had a bed, and the drummer and myself probably slept on the floor. So it seemed like a bad time. The pastor's daughter was giving him trouble, and he was having to work a job and come in. So it's kind of a funny story is so he comes in from work, and I don't know if it's still before the program or something like that. He said, "You know anything about plumbing?" And I said, "I know a little bit." He said, "I got this commode won't start running. If you fix that commode for me, whatever." So the church, like I said, was hardly nobody there, but they did have a good barbecue thing for like Saturday afternoon or something. But anyway, I fixed the commode. He gave me $25 for the church service and $25 to fix the commode.
That worked out.
Yeah, almost come with $60. Yeah. But that's the way that goes. Maybe they'd fix the fence, work on the fence with them, and
so $60 could, in the 1970s, that'd get you some food and get you back home.
That big stuff hadn't started then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did before we were over by 82.
Yeah.
We stopped traveling like that in 82 when your mother was, getting, she was born in 66, so she was getting to be. She might have married a little bit young or something, but she was 12, so 14 years old, something like that. When they stopped traveling, they wanted to settle down and get married and whatever thing. And so we did beach music then for about like 2 years, which and nobody liked that, and we just did it for a living because we, like I say, we were good at what we had, that perfect harmony, 3-part harmony, and played instruments, whatever. And then Michael Jackson, that came in, and so our type of music kind of went out in a way. But we did some pretty good beach music stuff, and then so I had to start a sharpening shop in my yard, and so I was trying to get back to the Lord, trying to get, because you see how I am about backsliding and whatever, like broken, trying to stay in ministry.
Yeah, it seems like the Lord doesn't. You try to run away, but He doesn't really let you go, does He?
Right. Yeah. He's still there.
Yeah.
And that's something people ought to understand, that He is spirit. You worship Him in spirit and in truth. That's what you're seeking, is to be led by the Spirit. Let's see, so many people, they got so many messed up beliefs that it's common. I'll do a little political thing here. I'll say this like this. So I hope I don't lose my thought. I'm going to lose my thought.
You said
yeah,
in spirit and in truth.
Yeah. If you see, there's so so many big things in the world that if you told, as some people, if they told what they know, it would be chaos. So the news media, they just kind of scrape the plate. They talk about unemployment, 3%, and all that kind of stuff, and it's probably more or less like 40% or whatever, But some people, when they're not on unemployment, they don't count. So they're talking about the 3 that's still on unemployment insurance. So they don't stress that because people might panic, or it would change their politician. But there's lots of things like that is truth, and it's pretty well, like with union, like have a no strike clause, but so they want you to believe that, or when they say you got to work when there's no rule that says that's true. But if you stand for that, like the whole thing, the whole thing kind of goes into chaos. It's a lot of truth that never comes out, and then people come to believe it. Just like one person I talk about, asked the person, do you know the Lord? He said, I pay my tithes. And so, because that's his whole thing. Yeah. You take that away from, like the other day, somebody said, I wouldn't vote for a woman. I wouldn't vote for a woman if I lost everything I had. I'm not going to vote for no woman. I mean, that's and that's, you can't break that. That's a belief. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But that's that prejudice or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, you're seeking truth, and with people, truth. You're trying to please God. Is what you're trying to do, because you can't please people.
Right.
People have all kinds of ways and locked in, and Catholicism and all kinds of stuff's locked in that you can't. So somebody said you can't stand the truth. What was it that?
You can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Yeah,
that's it, and that's true. There's stuff going on, man. There's like something you and I are feeling kind, and there's murderers and there's all kinds of stuff going on out there right now at this moment in time, because it's overwhelming if you dwell on it. So
what would you say to people today? What would you encourage people who are gospel singers or being called? Should they listen more closely, or what would you you recommend to people?
Well, I've been saying the prophet Joel.
Yeah.
If they just read the prophet Joel, you can see how things were in chaos, but the answer was not buying somebody a Cadillac. The answer is to like stay spiritual, keep seeking the Lord. You may be the one that gets to be sacrificed, and you may be the one that's made rich and as an example. But to serve God, you must serve Him in spirit and in truth. But follow the Spirit of the Lord, the guidance, and just. Whatever's going on, once you've prayed for it, leave it in God's hands, and you on the other side. The Bible says that 100%, 100-fold in this life and life to come. You're not only having your life. Sometimes the trouble you got is what you're going to be rewarded for, how you act, whether you visit the prison or try to help somebody. If it's just a little bit, I can't do anything, so I'm not going to, I can't help, so I'm not going to try, and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, it seems like when you come to the end of your life and you look back, and how sad would it be if you say, I really didn't follow what God was calling me to. Wouldn't that be a bad position to be in?
And it's seeking God too. It's not that you got there. You're constantly seeking to God's will, because, like I said, that they didn't realize that Jesus was the food that, and He was the drink, and He was the life. He was the doorway. He is your Sabbath. He's everything.
Yeah.
And so if you have to come to realize that whatever, like Job or whatever. I mean, I haven't done anything wrong. I'm not going to say that I did something wrong when I just try. Give God the glory.
All right. You want to sing a song for us?
Oh, I should sing you a song. What would
Yeah, I can grab you the guitar.
Yeah,
you
get that,
stay
because
right
I can hardly get that. Okay. Now there's a name above all others, wonderful to hear, brings us hope and cheer. Now it's the lovely name of Jesus, evermore the same. What a lovely name. Now through this name there's wondrous power, power to redeem, makes the sinner clean. And by this power He cleansed the leper, He opened blinded eyes, and caused the dead to rise. Now what a lovely name, the name of Jesus, reaches higher far than the brightest star, and it's sweeter than the songs they sing in heaven. Let the world proclaim, what a lovely name.
All right, good. Thank you.